The sky was red-dot ashes, floated like snow. The ground was broken, full of smoke and burned metal. Blades, blasters, body silent now. The battle was over. Commander Rourke moved through the wreckage. His boots crushed pieces of armor and cracked glass. Blood covered one side of his face. His arm was bleeding, but he didn't stop. He looked around. Anyone alive? He called out, only silence. He passed a crashed alien dropship. Flames burned along its wings. Black smoke filled the air. Rourke coughed, holding a cloth over his mouth. He was tired, hungry, but more than anything, he was angry. They had attacked first. Ambushed his unit. Killed his men. But as he walked toward the broken trees, he heard something. A sound. Breathing, weak and shaky. He stepped carefully, raising his blaster. His eyes scanned the trees. Then he saw her. An alien girl. She was on her knees in the mud. Her silver armor cracked and broken. Her hair long, dark blue, and tangled hung over her face. Her skin was pale and glowing faintly, just like her kind. Her arms were tied behind her back with a strip of her own cloak. She was wounded. Blood ran from her lip. Her left leg was twisted under her, but she wasn't crying. She was still. Her head slowly rose, and her glowing violet eyes locked onto his. She did not beg. She did not speak. She just stared, waiting. Rourke raised his blaster. His hand did not shake. She was the enemy. Her people had killed his best friend in the ambush, burned his base, laughed while doing it, and now here she was, alone, helpless. Her lips moved. A whisper, "Do it." Rourke blinked. "What?" "Kill me," she said. Her voice was cold, broken, tired. He stepped closer. She looked up at him fully now. Her cheek was bruised and one eye swollen. But still, she sat straight, proud, brave. Even in defeat, she was ready to die. She had expected it. All her life, she was told humans were monsters. They took no prisoners. They gave no mercy. Now she would see if it was true. But Rourke didn't shoot. His fingers stayed on the trigger, but he didn't press it. Seconds passed, then he slowly lowered the weapon. The girl's eyes widened. "Why?" she asked. He looked down at her, breathing hard. "You're not fighting anymore," he said. "You're done." I killed your men," she said. "I burned your ships. I know." "Then why won't you finish it?" He stepped back and knelt down in front of her. "Because I see someone worth saving," he said softly. She shook her head. "No, you're lying." "I'm not," Rourke said. He reached into his pocket and took out a small canteen of water, gently. He placed it beside her on the ground. She stared at it like it was poison. Then she looked back at him. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You don't have to," Rourke replied. "Just drink. Rest. You're not my enemy now." She watched him carefully. Her hands stayed behind her back. She didn't move. Rourke stood again. He looked down at her, this enemy girl, this broken warrior. And in that moment, he saw not a threat, not a killer, but a child. Scared, alone, taught to hate. And he couldn't hate her back. He turned to leave. "Wait," she called. He stopped. "What's your name?" she asked. He looked over his shoulder. "Rourke," he said. "Commander Jace Rourke." She nodded. "I'm Kalira," she said. "Second Spear of the Varnak Guard." Her voice faded. She sounded ashamed. Rourke didn't. "Judge, you're safe now, Kalira," he said. Then he walked away into the smoke, leaving her with the water. And her thoughts. Kalira sat in the mud, shaking. Her mind full of confusion. That human was supposed to kill her. But instead, he gave her mercy, and it terrified her more than death. Calera didn't sleep. She sat on the cold floor of the human transport ship, her hands unchained, her wounds cleaned. A thin blanket rested over her shoulders. A hot drink sat untouched beside her, but her eyes stayed wide, open, watching, waiting. This had to be a trick. She remembered the stories, the warnings told to every Varnak child. If the humans catch you, they torture you. If they smile, it's only before they break your bones. But no one had touched her. No one had hurt her. She had been given bandages, food, even clean clothes. She didn't understand. The door opened. She flinched. Commander Rourke stepped inside. He looked tired but calm. His eyes scanned her quickly, checking her injuries. "You're healing fast," he said. "That's good." Calera said nothing. Rourke stepped forward and sat across from her, setting down a tray. A few simple things: bread, fruit, and a small piece of something warm and sweet. "I brought breakfast," he said. "I know it's not your kind of food, but it's safe." Still, she didn't move. He waited. "You think this is a trick?" he finally asked. Kaler's voice was quiet. "Isn't it?" Rourke leaned back against the wall, stretching his legs. "I don't play tricks. I don't lie. Not to prisoners." "You don't treat prisoners like this," she said. "You're not just a prisoner," he replied. "You're different." She narrowed her eyes. "Because I'm weak?" "No," he said. "Because you didn't scream for help." "Because you looked me in the eye and accepted death." Calera turned away. "I was raised to fight," she whispered. "Die if needed, but never beg." Rourke nodded slowly. "That's what they taught you." "Yes, they lied." She looked at him then, eyes glowing softly, suspicious. "All I've seen from your people is death," she said. "And I've seen the same from yours," he replied. "But we both know that doesn't make every person a killer." He picked up the piece of bread and broke it in half. He set one half in front of her and took a bite from his own piece. He chewed, swallowed, and waited. Kale Ira stared at the bread. Then, slowly, like an animal testing a trap, she reached out and picked it up. She sniffed it. It smelled strange, sweet, and soft. She bit. Her eyes widened. It was good, too good. She stopped eating halfway and set the rest down. Rourke noticed, but didn't comment. Instead, he smiled just a little. "We call it honey bread, from Earth. Children love it." Calera glanced down. "I was never given sweets. No sweets, no toys. We trained, every day. I learned weapons before I learned words." Rourke looked away for a moment, his face tight with thought. "That's not childhood," he muttered. "That's programming." Calera looked confused. "Why are you being kind to me?" she asked. "Your soldiers, your allies, they look at me with hate. But you don't." He took a deep breath. "Because someone showed me kindness once, when I didn't deserve it, and it changed me." She tilted her head. "So now you do the same." Trying to, there was a pause. Then she asked, "Are you afraid I'll betray you?" Rourke raised an eyebrow. "Will you?" Calera didn't answer. Instead, she looked down at her hands. They were still scraped and bruised, but they were clean. Clean for the first time in months. "I don't know what I'll do," she finally said. "But I don't hate you. That scares me." Rourke stood. "You don't have to decide anything yet. For now, just heal." He walked to the door. Before he left, he turned and added, "If you want to walk outside later, you can. Stay near the camp. Some of the soldiers aren't ready to trust you." She nodded slowly. "I understand." The door closed behind him. Calera sat there for a long time. She finished the bread, drank the warm drink, then wrapped the blanket tighter around her body. Her mind was a storm. Why hadn't they locked her up? Why hadn't they yelled, cursed, punished? Why? Had he looked at her like she was human? She got up, walked to the small window, and looked outside. The human camp was quiet. Soldiers moved in lines. They trained, repaired ships, ate together. One laughed and threw a ball to a young child running. Nearby, Kalira stared. She had never seen an army allow laughter. Not like this. Not from warriors. And for the first time in her life, she didn't know who the real enemy was. Kalira sat on a soft bench under the sun, her eyes following the movement of two human children playing with a small, bouncing ball. They laughed loudly, freely. No one stopped them. No one scolded them for wasting time. No one told them to be silent, to stand still, to act like a soldier. She watched with a strange tightness in her chest. The past 2 days had felt like walking through a dream. She had expected cruelty. Instead, she was given comfort. Expected isolation. Instead, she was spoken to gently. Commander Rourke had even let her walk the outer edge of the camp as long as she stayed in sight. The guards still watched her, but not with hatred, just caution. Still, every smile, every kind word from the humans felt like a wound she didn't know how to treat, because it all went against everything she was taught. Human mercy is a lie, her instructor once said. They smile as they stab. They pretend to care, but they only destroy. She had believed that for years. Her people trained her hard. As a child, Kalira woke before the sun and trained until her arms shook. If she cried, she was punished. If she hesitated, she went hungry. Compassion was weakness. Trust was death. She had never even seen a child plain, not once. Joy is for the weak, her elders had said. You are Varnak. You are war. Now, sitting in a quiet human camp, holding a warm cup of soup and listening to laughter, she didn't feel weak. She felt alive, confused, but alive. Rourke approached from behind. He walked slowly, not wanting to startle her. You okay? He asked. Kalira nodded. Yes, just watching. He followed her gaze. The children were chasing each other now, falling in the grass and giggling. They're loud, Kalira muttered. They're free, Rourke said. Kalira looked down. I was never free. He sat beside her, I guessed. That, she hesitated. Then asked, do all human children play like this? Rourke smiled. Most do. Some more than others. But yeah, we let kids be kids. That's how it should be. She blinked, trying to understand. You teach them peace before war? Exactly. War is the last thing we want for them. She turned her head slightly. We're told that you raise children for battle, that your kindness is fake. He frowned. That's the saddest lie I've heard today. Kalira looked down at her hands. She rubbed the scars on her fingers, the ones she got from sword training when she was just 6. I thought I was lucky, she said softly. I thought being chosen for the guard was an honor. It was control, Rourke replied. Not honor. She looked at him. Can you be sure? He looked back gently. Because when you were dying and afraid, you didn't cry for your leaders. You didn't call for your people. You were ready to die alone. That's not honor. That's abandonment. Kalira's throat tightened. She remembered that moment. Alone. Kneeling in the mud. Waiting for a final strike. She truly believed no one would come for her, and no one had accepted him. Later that day, Rourke took her to a small tent where a human translator worked with alien languages. The woman, named Alira, was kind and curious. I've never heard your dialect before, she told Kalira. Your people must have hidden it well. Kalira nodded. We're taught our language is sacred. Only the strong are allowed to speak it. Alira laughed gently. That's funny. We think language should be shared. The more it's shared, the more peace can grow. Kalira frowned. You think peace grows from words? Of course, Alira said. Wars start with words too. But peace, real peace, starts when people speak and listen. Kalira said nothing, but those words stayed in her head. That night, she sat alone in her tent. She had no chains, no guards inside, only a warm blanket, a soft pillow, and a journal Rourke had given her. Right? What you feel, he said, even if it's angry. She stared at the empty pages. Then, slowly, she began to write in her own language. I was taught to hate them. But today, I saw a human child hug her father after falling. She cried. He kissed her forehead. No one punished her. I don't understand. But I want to. Tears dripped onto the page. She didn't even know. She was crying until the paper blurred. She wiped her face quickly and closed the journal. Just then, the tent flap moved. Rourke peeked in. You all right, Kalira? Turned away. I'm fine. He didn't push. Tomorrow, I'll show you our garden. It's small, but peaceful. Might help you think. She nodded, eyes still hidden. Then he left. She sat in silence again, and in her heart, something began to break, but not in a bad way. The wall built by years of lies was starting to fall. The stars looked different from the hill outside the human camp. Kalira stood in silence, her pale skin glowing faintly in the moonlight. Her dark blue hair moved with the wind. The night was quiet, too quiet. Behind her, the lights of the human base flickered gently. No alarms, no guards chasing her. She had slipped out of her tent an hour ago. No one tried to stop her. She didn't know if it was a test or trust, and that scared her more than any chain. Rourke had said it clearly. You're free to walk, just don't go too far. But she had gone far, far enough to disappear into the woods, far enough to run away if she wanted, and she wanted too. Didn't she? For the first time since the war began, Kalira had the choice. She could run, return to her people, maybe warn them, maybe report human weaknesses. She could even lie. Say she escaped after being tortured. They'd believe it because her people believed all humans were cruel. But she had seen laughter. She had seen kindness. She had tasted honey bread and felt warm blankets. She had heard a child's laugh, and Rourke's voice telling her, "You're not my enemy." Kalira dropped to her knees beside a small stream, her heart beating fast. She splashed water on her face. It was cold, sharp, and real. She looked at her reflection. She didn't see a warrior anymore. She saw a girl lost, conflicted, free, and that freedom burned like fire in her chest. Suddenly, dash footsteps. She spun around, her hand reaching for a blade she didn't carry anymore. A figure stepped out of the trees. It was Rourke, unarmed, just holding a flashlight. He stopped a few feet away. I wondered if you'd come here, he said. Kalira didn't speak. I didn't send guards after you, he added, because I wanted to see what you would choose. Her voice was cold. So this was a test. No, Rourke said calmly. This was your moment. She looked down. I could leave right now, she said. Yes. I could return to my people. You could. She met his eyes, and you wouldn't stop me. He stepped closer and sat on a rock beside her. No, but I'd be sad. Why? Because I think you're starting to see what we really are. The water flowed beside them, soft and steady. Kalira hugged her knees. Her voice dropped. I thought about it. About running, about lying, about saying you tortured me. He stayed silent, letting her speak. She continued. But if I did, I'd be the liar, not you. He smiled faintly. That means you've already changed. No, she said. It means I'm confused. That's part of growing. She looked at him again. Why do you care so much? Because you're not a weapon, Rourke said. You're a person. And maybe, if someone had told you that earlier, we wouldn't be at war. Caliera stared at him. Then, slowly, she asked, Do you hate my people? He shook his head. No. I hate what your leaders taught you. I hate the lies, but I don't hate you. A long silence passed. Then, softly, she whispered, I don't want to hate anymore either. The stars above them shimmered. Caliera stood up slowly. I want to go back, she said. Rourke raised an eyebrow. To us? To the camp, she said. To the people who didn't kill me when they could. He stood beside her. No one. We'll lock you up, he said, but some will still watch you. They're not ready yet. I don't blame them, she replied. I wouldn't trust me either, but I do, he said firmly. That made her pause. He really meant it. No fear. No lies. Just belief. It hit her harder than any blade ever could. Back at the camp, the guards blinked in surprise when they saw her walking beside Rourke. She didn't flinch. She didn't hide. She walked straight to her tent before going inside. She turned to him. I'm not running again. I know. He said, then he left. Caliera stepped into her tent and sat by the small table. Her journal lay open. She picked up the pen and wrote, I had the chance to run, but I didn't. I don't know what that means yet, but it feels like the first choice I made for myself. She closed the journal and lay down. For the first time in years, she slept without fear. The morning sun rose over the camp. Caliera stood near the small garden commander Rourke had shown her earlier. She touched the soft leaves of a growing plant, still damp with dew. It was called basil, he had said. Humans used it for cooking. It was strange her hands had once held blades, but now they brushed green leaves. She didn't feel weak. She felt different, stronger in a new way. But peace was not without its own battles. Later that afternoon, message came. A small human drone intercepted a secret signal just outside the camp perimeter. Encrypted alien, Caliera's people were trying to contact her. Rourke entered her tent holding a thin gray tablet. His face was calm but serious. They want you to respond, he said. They think you've escaped. Caliera took the device with shaking hands. She looked at the message. Warrior. Kellarif alive. Report immediately. Send enemy camp layout. Coordinates, weak points. Rescue team will extract. Do not trust human lies. Her breath caught. She read it again. Then again, they wanted her to betray the ones who had saved her. They expected her to be a tool. Just like before. Rourke didn't pressure her. He simply sat beside her. It's your choice, he said. Will you stop me? She asked. No. She stared at the blinking message. Her mind felt split in two. On one side, duty, loyalty, the only life she had ever known. On the other, kindness, truth, and the people who had shown her mercy without reason. What if I go back? She asked. Rourke looked her in the eye. Then I hope you stay alive. She hesitated. What if I stay here? Then you'll have a future. Her hands trembled. My people will call me a traitor. Maybe, he said. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. Caliera stood and walked outside. She walked past the tents, the soldiers, the training fields. She passed the same boy who had once thrown her a blanket. He smiled at her now, not afraid, not angry, just welcoming. She reached the edge of camp. Where the wind blew over the dry hills, she held the tablet high. Her finger hovered over the reply. Button. She could lie, say she was captured, mistreated, locked in chains, say the humans were weak. That they were vulnerable, she could be rescued, be celebrated, but it would all be a lie. And she was done living in lies. Kalira slowly lowered the tablet. Her hands no longer shook. Then, without a word, she crushed it under her heel. Metal cracked, sparks flew. The screen went black. She turned and walked back toward camp. She didn't look back. When she reached her tent, Rourke was still inside. She tossed the broken tablet to the floor. "It's done," she said. He looked up. "Are you sure?" "No," she said honestly, "but I'm ready." Rourke nodded. There was no celebration, no applause. Just quiet understanding. "You made your choice," he said. "I chose peace," she replied, "even if I must fight for it." That evening, a small group of human soldiers sat around a campfire. Kalira walked by, and they all stopped talking. She paused. They looked at her, then one soldier moved aside and patted the ground next to him. She sat down. No. One spoke for a while. Then someone passed her a cup of tea. Kalira accepted it, heart beating fast. She was no longer the enemy. She was part of something. And even though her people might never accept her, again she was finally free, inside her tent that night. She opened her journal and wrote, "Today, I burned the bridge too. My old world, it hurt, but I built something new in its place. I don't know what it will become, but it's mine." Far away, in the cold blackness of space, a ship from Kalira's world hovered waiting for her signal. It never came. They would send others. Maybe a search team. Maybe assassins. But she was no longer afraid. Because for the first time, she knew who she was. Asterisk, the warning came just after sunset. A human scout rushed into the camp. His face pale, voice urgent. "Unknown vessel stealth class broke orbit 2 hours ago. No ID signal. It's Varnak design." Commander Rourke's heart dropped. He turned to Kalira, who was standing near the armory. Her face said everything she already knew. "They're here for me," she whispered. Rourke acted fast. "Get her to the shelter," he barked. "Activate outer defenses." Kalira didn't move. Her fists clenched. Her glowing eyes stared at the sky, dark and wide above them. "I know that ship," she said. "It belongs to the Shadow Spear." Rourke froze. "The execution squad." Kalira nodded slowly. "They don't take prisoners. They silence shame." "You mean ... you." "They think I betrayed them," she said. "So now they'll erase me." Sirens echoed through the human camp. Soldiers ran to positions. Spotlights swept the skies. Kalira followed Rourke through the base. But every step felt heavier. She had hoped for time. Time to change. Time to belong. But her past had caught up fast. It came with guns. Minutes later, the ship descended beyond the ridge. It was quiet, no hails, no threats, just a soft, rumbling hum in the night. Then dash figures appeared from the shadows, tall, fast, armored in black. No markings, no faces. Varnak assassins. Kalira's breath caught. "I trained with some of them," she said. "Now they've come to kill me." Rourke handed her a sidearm. "Then don't let them." The camp lit up with red lights. The first shots came fast, silent beams that cut through the fences. One human soldier fell. Another shouted, incoming from the east. Rourke led Kalira behind a supply truck as plasma bolts flew overhead. She fired once, then twice each time, hitting her target with deadly skill. But her hands trembled. These were her own people. She had trained beside them, slept in the same bunks, ate from the same trays. Now she was shooting to survive. One assassin charged straight at her. Kalira spun, ducked, and drove her knee into his chest. The armor cracked. She grabbed his blade and threw it aside. He looked up at her with disgust. "You speak with them now," he hissed. "I live with them," she snapped back. He swung a punch, but Rourke tackled him from the side, knocking him. Unconscious, Kalira looked at the human commander bleeding. Bruised, but still fighting for her. For her, no one had ever done that before. A small child cried nearby. Keliar turned sharply. A family was trapped in the far corner, pinned down. By fire, without thinking, she ran toward them. "Cover me," she yelled. She dashed across open ground, plasma bolts burning the dirt around her. She reached the family, grabbed the child, and pulled them behind a storage crate. A blast hit the ground inches from her feet. She didn't stop. She shielded the child with her own body. One assassin saw her raise his weapon, but before he could shoot, a human sniper dropped him from above. Kalira didn't look back. She ran with the child until they were safe. When the fight ended, 7 humans were wounded. 1 was dead. 3 assassins were captured. The rest disappeared into the forest. The enemy ship left without a word. No rescue. No revenge, just silence. Kalira sat on a bench beside the field clinic. Her hands were scraped. Her shoulder burned. But she had saved a life. A human life. Rourke sat beside her. His armor was dented, and a cut ran down his cheek. "You okay?" he asked. Kalira nodded. "I didn't think I could do it," she said. "Fight them. Hurt them." "You didn't fight for revenge," he said. "You fought to protect." She looked at the child she had saved, now sleeping inside the med tent. "I think that makes me more Varnak than ever," she whispered. "But not their kind." Rourke looked at her carefully. "Then what kind are you?" Kalia turned to him. "The kind that chooses who she wants to be." That night, the camp held a small memorial for the fallen soldier. Kalira stood in the shadows, watching. She expected people to ignore her, but the dead soldier's younger brother walked up to her. Holding a small flower, he offered it to her. With shaky hands, "Thank you," he said softly, "for protecting my mom and me." Kalira stared at him, stunned. Then she knelt slowly and accepted the flower. The boy smiled and left. Rourke watched from afar. Kalira looked down at the small petals in her palm. It was more than a gift. It was forgiveness. The camp was quiet now. No sirens, no gunfire. Only the sound of wind moving through canvas tents and rustling the flags above the command post. Kalira stood near the edge of the training field, her cloak flapping in the breeze. The small flower the boy had given her was tucked gently into the strap of her armor. She had washed off the blood. Her bruises were healing, but inside, something still ached. Not with pain, with change. The next morning, Rourke met with the council. They sat in a circle under a metal dome, surrounded by holograms of cities and stars. Kalira stood beside him. Her head was high. Her arms no longer trembled. Some of the council members frowned. "She's still a Varnak," one said. "What if she's part of a bigger plan?" "She saved civilians," Rourke said firmly. "She fought her own people to protect ours." Another voice, calm but sharp, spoke. "You expect us to believe one act of kindness changed her?" "No," Kalira answered, stepping forward. "It wasn't one act. It was many, small ones. Every day, they all turned to her. She breathed deeply. When I was captured, I expected pain, expected death. That's what I was trained to believe." She looked around at the human faces watching her. "But you didn't chain me. You didn't hit me. You gave me water, food, warmth, even silence when I needed it." She paused, then continued. "I hated you. But hate cannot survive when truth is given a voice." The council listened. One older woman leaned forward. "And what is your truth now?" Kalira's answer was quiet but clear. "That I want peace. Not just for myself, but for every child born under a lie." Later that evening, she sat beside Rourke outside the mess tent. The stars above them blinked quietly. He handed her a folded piece of cloth. "What's this?" she asked. "Something new," he said. She opened it. It was a uniform, dark gray, with a silver patch on the shoulder, the symbol of a peacekeeper. "Not a soldier," he said. "Not a prisoner. But someone between." Kalira traced the symbol. With her fingers, "I'm not sure they'll accept me." "They don't have to. Not right away. But this gives you a place. A start." She smiled faintly. "For a long time, I didn't want a place. Just victory." He looked at her. "And?" Now, she turned her face toward the stars. "Now, I want a future." The next day, a ship landed at the far edge of the human base. Not a warship, a transport. A mixed team of humans and peaceful alien diplomats stepped out for the first time. Varnek peace envoys walked beside humans without weapons. Kalira stood. In front of them, wearing her new uniform, the sun caught her hair and the silver patch on her shoulder. The alien envoy and elder from her homeworld looked at her with mixed eyes. "Kalira, you stand beside humans now." "I stand beside truth," she said calmly. "You turned your back on your blood." "I turned away from blind hatred," she replied. "That's not betrayal. That's healing." He didn't respond, but he didn't attack either. That was enough for now, inside the tent. Kalira gave a short speech. She told them about the night she almost ran. And why she came back. She told them about the child she saved, and how that child's simple flower meant more than any medal. She told them how mercy changed her more than any battle ever had. At the end, she looked to Rourke. He nodded. She finished with the words, "I was ready to die, but someone gave me a chance to live. Not just survive, but live. And I'll carry that mercy forward for as long as I breathe." After the meeting, as the visitors left, one small girl walked up to Kalira, a Varnak child's wide, skin glowing faintly. She reached up with a nervous hand and touched Kalira's armor. "You're real." The child whispered, "My brother said you were a story." Kara knelt down. "I was a story once," she said. "Now I'm just someone trying to do better." The child tilted her head. "Can I be like you?" Kalira smiled gently. "No," she said. The child blinked. "You can be better." That night, Kalira wrote her final words in the journal Rourke had given her weeks ago. "They sent me to die. The humans gave me a life. I will never forget the one who knelt beside me in the mud and saw a person, not a weapon. He showed me mercy. So now I will give it to others." She closed the journal. Outside, the sky was filled with stars, not borders, not enemies, just stars. And under that sky walked the girl who was once ready to die but had been saved by an unexpected act of humanity.